Uh-oh.
Okay, we'll start with this. Veteran boxing scribe, if you even want to call him that, Seckbach reacted to the news of Teofimo potentially moving up for a Boots Ennis fight by saying, "The double standard in boxing is out of control. Boxing Twitter complains about a fighter taking a quote-unquote easy fight, but then supports a fighter they like that's doing the exact same thing."
Huh?
Same goes for fighting someone moving up one weight class. Resume versus resume. Be consistent.
I don't understand.
He's likening the Lamont Roach versus Gervonta Davis fight to the potential Teofimo Lopez versus Boots Ennis fight, saying that people are not keeping the same energy when it comes to the both of those fights, even though the situations are similar.
How?
Because Lamont Roach is moving up in weight for Gervonta, and Teofimo would presumably be moving up in weight for Boots Ennis. Now that's where they're similar, but it's where they're different that makes this a false equivalency argument.
It's tantamount to saying that one of those little Shih Tzu dogs and a grizzly bear are basically the same thing because they both walk on 4 legs.
Stupid, I know. And the boxing community at large didn't hesitate to let Ellie know how stupid he sounds. One guy who goes by the name Paul Kennedy said, "Too dumb to realize Roach is 130? Not a single fan asked for that fight or to see your 30-year-old prospect fight Rowley or Martin. Pedraza was the only time Tank stepped up, and I bet 99% of people never even saw that fight."
Paul Kennedy made the connection almost immediately.
Who was it that Seckbach was defending? He's defending Gervonta Davis. Ellie, who responded by saying, "Yet Tank got 12 sellouts in a row, best pay-per-view in years, 1.3 million, top gates wherever he fights, and you're salty."
Now, what you want to pay attention to is that Seckbach made no mention of Gervonta Davis in the original post, yet Paul Kennedy knew what this was all about.
He knew who he was defending. And so did everybody else, everybody in the comments section of his post. Another guy who goes by the name No Bullshit said, "You mean the way you have double standards for certain fighters? You think the fighters that give you interviews are the greatest. You're just a
pole-smoking fanboy."
Everything he said is true. Seckbach has been swinging off of Gervonta Davis's nuts for years, for no other reason than Gervonta regularly gives him access. He trashes and talks down other, more accomplished fighters all the time.
Here's an example.
I'm better than 90% of his opponents. What are you talking about? He fought nobody. The easiest undisputed at 40. He's a hyped-up guy with a hyped-up record.
Here's the reality. The guy he's talking about is a 4-division, 3-time lineal, 2-time undisputed, current reigning champion.
Fake star. Fake legend. Fought no one.
I don't know how Robert can stomach having this pole smoker around as much as he does without throwing up in his own mouth.
Seckbach is a moron.
And a hypocrite. He's the hypocrite he pretends everybody else is, because while he's tearing down Terrence Crawford, he's talking up Gervonta Davis, who hasn't accomplished anywhere near as much in the sport of boxing. And people are aware. People know.
Twitter user that goes by the name Truth Hurts knows. He said, "You're probably the biggest idiot and glazer in boxing media, but cook yo moron ass after the Spence fight. Remember, Seckbach backed Errol Spence Jr. to win that fight for years. For years he tore down Terrence Crawford.
So of course he's gonna have an axe to grind with him when Terrence not only proves him wrong, but reminds him."
He started laying into Terrence Crawford on that same thread. Ellie said, "You're proving my point. David Avanesian, when was he a champion? Or world-class level? At least Hector Garcia and Lamont Roach are champions.
Oh, they were champions? Then what belts did Gervonta win from them?
None, because they were not champions at lightweight where he fought them. Reality is, Terence Crawford took more belts from more champions at more weights than Gervonta Davis. And you're such a big pole smoker, you try to pretend it's the other way around.
The only guys Gervonta Davis took belts from, actual belts, full titles that can be unified.
He took Jose Pedraza's IBF title many years ago, way back there in 2017, and he took Leo Santa Cruz's WBA title. Those are the only two guys he won actual belts from.
What about Mario Barrios?
It was not a full title. At the time that he beat Mario Barrios for that baby belt, Josh Taylor was undisputed Ring Magazine and lineal champion. What Gervonta Davis took from Mario Barrios was a trinket, a secondary title, a Happy Meal belt.
And what about the belt he has now? How'd he get that one?
He didn't win that one from anybody. He moved up to lightweight in 2019 and fought for a vacant WBA regular title at a time when Vasyl Lomachenko was full WBA super champion. Unified.
The belt he's got now? He didn't win it from anybody. He didn't take it from a champion.
Whereas Terence Crawford took Ricky Burns's WBO title. He took Victor Postol's WBC title. He took Julius Longdongo's 2 alphabet titles. He took Jeff Horn's WBO, then Errol Spence's IBF.
That's 5.
Israel Madrimov makes 6. He's taken titles from 6 alphabet champions to Gervonta Davis's 2. So let's not pretend they're on the same page or in the same stratosphere. They're not.
Back to the point.
You're trying to liken Teofimo moving up to welterweight to fight Boots to Lamont Roach moving up to lightweight to fight Gervonta as if Lamont and Teofimo are the same caliber of fighter. They're not.
Teofimo is a former unified, 2-division, 2-time lineal, 2-time Ring Magazine, current reigning champion. Lamont Roach is not those things.
Lamont Roach has never been unified. He's never held the Ring Magazine title. He's never been lineal. He's never been any of those things. Why are you pretending that he's like Teofimo?
Why are you pretending that he has a resume like Teofimo? Beat a champion in Richard Comey, another one in Vasyl Lomachenko, another one in Josh Taylor.
And I don't even like Teofimo Lopez. It's gotta be bad that I'm coming to his defense because that's how stupid you are.
How stupid you sound.
Point to me when any periodical ever ranked Lamont Roach as a pound-for-pound fighter, because we know they did that with Teofimo. When did they do that with Lamont?
Never.
Then why are you pretending it's the same thing when it so clearly isn't?
Another difference.
Gervonta Davis sought out Lamont Roach. There were other options on the table he could have chose. He sought that guy out, whereas Boots Ennis didn't seek out Teofimo Lopez. Teofimo's calling him out.
It's not even saying that I think Teofimo's interest is genuine, because it might not be, or that this fight will happen, it might not.
But you're pretending that Boots Ennis sought this guy out like Gervonta Davis sought out Lamont Roach, and that ain't the case. You're projecting. You're the hypocrite. You're the kind of person that you're talking about.
You're the one with the double standards. You tear down what are more accomplished and proven fighters in favor of the guys you like, because you're the one with the double standards.
For no other reason than they let you hang around. Because they give you access, you pretend they're the best thing smoking.
You're a lapdog.
And people don't respect you. The boxers don't respect you, nor do the boxing fans. The only people that can stand to be in the presence of you are the ones you shamelessly glaze.
You're a professional brown noser.
You don't know shit about boxing. In spite of covering this sport for as long as you haven't learned anything.
You're a casual.
Just be honest. Many of Ellie's boxing takes read like they came from a guy who started watching boxing yesterday.
You're a casual.
You're not a journalist. You're just a fan with a camera.
And really bad boxing takes.
In boxing.
47. Right.
But who knows who Boots is?
Yeah.
No, genuinely. Who knows who... Like, I was walking around Philly. People going, oh, Conor Benn, man, big fan. Round side streets. Then I've gone to Miami, and the same thing then. Oh, you know, while I'm running, Conor Benn, big fan. You know, fellow Americans. You know, so for them saying I'm not a big name in the States, everyone's familiar with the Benn name over there in the States. And he's come to England, no one know who he is. Apart from the boxing community, great fighter, you know. Second to Crawford, in my opinion, if you're talking welterweight division. You know, he's that guy. I've made no secret in calling for that fight. But if you're saying big names, I don't look at him and go big names. I look at big names and go Pacquiao, the Broners, the Kell Brooks, the Khans, characters, people who people invest in, personality. You know, there ain't much of that.
The names that Conor Benn mentioned, yeah, they were names. They were definitely personalities and characters in their time, but their time is over. What you're talking about is a bunch of old men and retirees. Amir Khan, Kell Brook.
Those guys are retired. Manny Pacquiao is still in pursuit of a political career.
He's in his mid-40s. And Adrian Bronor last fought in a shoebox opposite the ring Blair Cobbs, who beat him.
I thought Broner was a washed-up fighter way back there when he fought Jesse Vargas. What was that, 4 or 5 years ago? He's even more washed up now.
Was Conor Benn merely bringing up these names as examples of personalities and the kinds of fighters he would like to fight? Were these examples or potential opponent options? I hope not.
Neither scenario is encouraging because there are no personalities like that at 147 or 154, that charismatic, that beloved, or that well-known. Not at the moment.
So what are you saying? That you're going to forego fights with the vast majority of welterweights and junior middles? This is what he's saying on the eve of what could be a Mario Barrios fight for what is Mario Barrios' green and gold title. Mario Barrios is not a charismatic guy.
Elmira, his girlfriend, has a charismatic ass. Very nice ass.
Nice thighs, too. She's gorgeous. But in terms of being charismatic and being a character, Mario Barrios is not those things, and you don't have any reservations about fighting him. So if you're lucky enough to land that fight, and you beat him, and you become WBC champion, what are you saying? That you're not going to try to unify this division? That you're not going to try to unify titles with Boots? You know, Montes Stanionis, he's not charismatic either. Or Brian Norman, so I guess that rules them out.
Those two guys have the personality of a trip to the DMV.
While Boots has the personality of a warm bus seat, in many ways, he is the most well-known champion in the welterweight division, for better or worse. To relegate him to being some nobody that nobody knows, I think that's disingenuous and just a fanciful way of saying you don't really want to fight him.
This is the excuse.
Not good for the welterweight division. When one of the few guys that are there that's actually worth some money doesn't really care to unify? What we often see in this postmodern era is the fighter's ambition is tempered by his ability. A talented fighter with a very high ceiling
Wants it all. All the marbles, all the belts, the money, the legacy, all of it. Because their ability allows them to be that ambitious. But for a less able fighter,
A limited fighter has to use more discernment, be more strategic in their approach. Unfortunately, that's what we're seeing. That's what we're hearing from young Conroy.
I don't doubt that somebody might have recognized him in Philly. I don't doubt that somebody might have recognized him in Miami. Somebody that keeps up with a lot of boxing. But I think the same would be true in reverse in the UK. A kid in the UK that watches a lot of boxing, he likely knows who Jaron Ennis is.
To say that the Benn name is more well-known in America than the Ennis name is known in the UK, it's a bit disingenuous. It
It's
is.
about the same.
The only way a guy in America knows who Conor Benn is because he watches a lot of boxing. And the same is true of a kid in the UK and Jaron Ennis. Yeah, they might know who he is because they watch a lot of boxing. So you're both known within the boxing sphere.
Now, of course, in the United Kingdom, Conor Benn is more well-known comparatively than Ennis is in the United States.
That in his own neck of the woods, Conor Benn is more well-known than Ennis is in his neck of the woods, and that's what affords him this discernment. That Conor knows he doesn't necessarily have to roll the dice with the Boots to get a big bag.
That's it.
Some guys in some divisions, they can't afford to stay away from each other because they by themselves ain't worth very much and don't generate very much, whereas Conor, on the eve of his return to the United Kingdom, he knows he's worth enough money that he can live without a Jaron Ennis fight. So let's not overanalyze things here. What this sounds like is a preemptive duck. That's what it sounds like. And finally, in men's super lightweight news, IBF champion Richardson Hitchins, 19-0, has stated, when lightweight contender Keyshawn Davis is ready to move up to 140, he will give him a shot to prove he's the best in the division right now.
I think if Richardson Hitchins wants to prove he's the best super lightweight, he should be targeting other super lightweights, the other 3 champions at the weight. That would prove it.
That'd do it. It's an interesting call-out because not only is Keyshawn Davis on a different side of the street, he's in a different division. He's over there at Top Rank and he competes at 135. he's on the cusp of fighting for an alphabet title of his own. Rumor has it, in February, he's going to be facing the Ukraine's own Denis Berinchik for Denis's brown belt, the WBO title. Thus, this is not a realistic fight for more reasons than one. It's an interesting style matchup.
Interesting fight.
Keyshawn Davis, at least so far, has had the look of a boxer-puncher, and I'm more partial to boxer-punchers than I am pure boxers like Richardson Hitchins, though stylistically, that would give Richardson Hitchins the edge. The same edge that he had over Liam Paro, he might also have over Keyshawn Davis.
He might.
I say that he might because it depends on Keyshawn's ability to adapt. If he can dial it up a bit, be a bit more aggressive, throw more combinations, fight like a pressure guy, that might make all the difference.
Not all boxer punches are created equal, and not every boxer puncher can.
Make that slight adjustment because it's really not a big one. You noticed how Liam Paro got off to a good start, just staying with Richardson Hitchins and staying on him. But at some point, it became repetitive and predictable, and it was Richardson Hitchins that was able to adjust.
For Keyshawn Davis to stand a chance, he's got to dial it up enough, dial it up so much that a Richardson Hitchins doesn't have time to adapt, doesn't have time to adjust, time to think. You don't give him the room, the real estate, or the time to make any tweaks.
That's the edge that pressure fighters have over pure boxers. There's just so much happening all at once. Pure boxer doesn't have time to be cerebral. They're flustered. It's why a Gustavo Lemos, who is not as well-schooled a boxer as a Liam Paro, doesn't have as many bells and whistles to his game as a Liam Paro. That's why Gustavo did better against Richardson Hitchins than Liam Paro did.
Boxing math is funny.
Though, like I said, this is not a realistic matchup, for more reasons than one, that Keyshawn Davis is literally on the cusp of fighting for an alphabet title in the first quarter of next year in February, and by the time that he's all done in the lightweight division, Richardson Hitchins might be done in the super lightweight division. Because not long from now, Subriel Matias is going to become his mandatory challenger. That's the look of it. And Richardson Hitchins has never fancied that fight.
Make a long story short, by the time that Keyshawn is done at 135, Richardson Hitchins might be done at 140.
Because he's a big 140. He's actually one of the bigger 140-pound fighters in the division, and I don't imagine it's going to get easier for him over time as his body matures to keep making that weight. I would be surprised if Richardson Hitchins stays in the super lightweight division for more than a year, more than 1 or 2 fights.
He's got his own problems.
What options he does have on the table, the more realistic ones, Jack Catterall, maybe?
George Kambosos? Maybe George. Maybe not. Maybe Regis Prograis.
Richardson Hitchins himself, immediately after the fight, called out Teofimo, but Teofimo's name is attached to the Boots Ennis fight we just talked about.
Not realistic.
So, you know, I don't mind the idea of a Richardson Hitchins versus Keyshawn Davis fight down the line, but it just doesn't look likely to happen. They're separated by promotional banners and weight. They're separated by weight. So I don't see this one happening anytime in the near future.